Warning: why Wall Street just bought your funeral and why it should terrify you. The funeral director folded the invoice and slid it across the table. $12,000. The widow blinked hard. A courtesy discount appeared if they financed today. The chapel slot might be gone by morning. Her son's hands shook over the pen. Here's the part no one tells you. Wall Street bought your funeral to raise the price. Using scripts that nudge in grief, sale-leasebacks that lock in rising rent, and cemetery real estate turned into premium views. Private equity-owned homes charge more than independents. Service Corporation International alone runs about 2,000 locations and spent $181 million on acquisitions and $62 million on real estate in 2024. Prices are accelerating now. Rewind to the first roll UPS. The rewind. How death became an asset class. Before the spreadsheets and call centers, funerals were a local promise. In the decades before the 1980s, family-owned firms dominated. The owner lived above the chapel, knew the church secretary by name, and carried the casket himself. Margins were modest. Service was bespoke. Trust, not scale, was the competitive edge. Then the roll-up era arrived. In the 1980s and 1990s, Service Corporation International, Stewart, and Loewen turned mourning into a map. The thesis sounded clinical and irresistible. Stable volumes, recession-resistant demand, and thousands of fragmented mom-and-pop targets. Borrow to buy, centralize the back office, keep the family name on the door, and quietly tighten prices. Today, Service Corporation International operates roughly 2,000 locations, about 1,500 funeral homes, and about 500 cemeteries, an empire built from those acquisitions. To understand the magnetism, follow the dirt. A cemetery isn't just a place, it's a balance sheet. Each unsold plot is inventory. Each interment fee is a future cash flow. Over time, the land beneath the manicured lawn appreciates. Meanwhile, every cemetery runs a perpetual care fund, money set aside to maintain the grounds forever. On paper, it's stewardship. In practice, it's a pool of capital with rules that vary widely by state and room to maneuver. The regulatory field helped the roll-up more than any pitch deck. The Federal Trade Commission's Funeral Rule requires price disclosures in person and by phone, but its scope is narrow. Cremation, cemeteries, and third-party goods sit in gray zones. There's no federal requirement to post prices online. The Federal Trade Commission is reviewing that gap now, but for decades, opacity was policy by default. With a patchwork of state oversight and inconsistent audits, the door stayed open for upsells, bundling, and creative fee structures. Wall Street understood the math. If you can predict need, with mortality tables, demographics, and seasonality, you can model revenue like a utility. Add pre-need sales, where families pay in advance, and you pull future cash flows into the present. Standardize procurement, squeeze suppliers, and scale marketing. A roll-up promised cost savings and pricing power, wrapped in a service that people only evaluate a handful of times in life, often under stress. But debt cuts both ways. In the late 199s and early 200s, some acquisitive players overreached. When growth slowed or interest costs rose, balance sheets snapped. Stewart and Loewen stumbled. Service Corporation International wrote down assets, shuttered underperforming locations, and doubled down on core markets. The lesson hardened into today's playbook. Acquire patiently, keep the local brands intact for trust, and use downturns to buy strugglers at a discount. Survivors didn't retreat, they refined. Here's one detail that matters now. Service Corporation International disclosed spending $181 million on acquisitions and $62 million on real estate in 2024. That's not a company exiting the game. That's a company deepening its moat, buying more homes, and investing in land development that converts grassy margins into premium niches, mausoleums, and new sections priced higher by design. Meanwhile, something else was happening in the arrangement rooms. The sales experience got scripted. The old director who would say, "Pay me when you can," was replaced, sometimes literally, sometimes culturally, by managers trained on attachment rates and average revenue per case. The roll-up didn't only centralize purchasing, it standardized grief. Good, better, best packages did the anchoring work that once belonged to a trusted neighbor's guidance. What nobody knew at the time was how the next wave would sharpen this. The first roll-ups won with debt and density. The modern wave adds data. It learns which neighborhoods respond to which packages and how calendar scarcity pushes faster commitments. It turns the first phone call after a death into the golden hour for revenue capture. Microstory. In 1993, a third-generation owner sold after a stroke. The sign kept his surname. For 5 years, families didn't notice the back office change. Prices crept up. The casket room lost its hand-lettered tags and gained laminated packages. The day the city widened the road, a new stone-front mausoleum rose near the entrance. Premium View, the brochure read. The Perpetual Care Fund-footed landscaping. The margins came from price tiers. To understand why this industry became an asset class, look at incentives lined up in a row. Predictable demand. High switching costs at the moment of purchase. No one comparison shops at midnight after a hospice call. Sparse, uneven regulation. Tangible real estate that can be developed and sold in slices for decades. And a product where presentation and ritual can be bundled into tiers that feel like love, duty, and dignity. Words that don't fit neatly on a P&L, but move dollars just the same. This was the moment everything changed. When the family name on the marquee no longer guaranteed the family inside owned it. The trust signal stayed while the pricing engine behind it shifted. The industry didn't just consolidate, it professionalized extraction. And the modern version, guided by private equity timelines, will press further. Because when you turn sorrow into a forecast, you can securitize tomorrow's goodbyes. While that was happening at the corporate level, regulators lagged. The Federal Trade Commission's review of mandatory online price transparency is still pending. States debate how to define perpetual and who can touch those funds. The gaps aren't theoretical, they're the lanes through which capital flows. Everything is about to change again when algorithms meet that first phone call. But before we step into scripts and dashboards, fix this pivot in mind. Death care became an asset class the day volume met leverage, and leverage met lax rules. The next act shows how data pressed on that bruise. The modern roll-up machine. 3 things define the modern wave: speed, scripts, and a clock set to a 5 to 7 year exit. Private equity didn't invent consolidation, but it industrialized the cadence. The pitch is boilerplate. It's a fragmented industry with stable demand and low digital sophistication. By low, centralize the guts, keep the local brand, and raise prices. And the data backs the incentive. Studies show locations owned by financial sponsors tend to charge materially more than independent homes. That spread, multiplied across thousands of cases, is the thesis. Who sells to them? Often, owners in their 60s and 70s. Succession plans fell through. Kids moved away. The building needs a roof, the hearse needs replacing, and staffing is a grind. A well-dressed team arrives with a promise. We'll protect your legacy, keep your name on the sign, and wire funds within 30 days. The offer includes cash for the real estate and a consulting agreement to ease the handoff. The seller imagines continuity. The buyer imagines yield. Unknown to many sellers, the operating model changes fast. A call center takes first contacts. Scripts replace improvisation. The casket room becomes a set of planograms with high-margin mementos at shoulder height. Goods of grief turn into SKUs. Overnight, the small touches, the borrowed chairs from the Rotary, the handwritten programs, give way to packages with names that imply duty and respect. Heritage, serenity, dignity. Each tier is a price anchor. Meanwhile, the back office plugs into software. A customer relationship system tracks every lead source. Hospice referrals, obituary traffic, website chat, even missed calls. Price sheets are A/B tested by zip code, seasonality, and day of week. A director who once quoted a number from memory now taps a tablet that suggests a package with attachment items pre-checked. Every add-on has a code. Every code has a margin. While that was happening in the arrangement rooms, the spreadsheet upstairs did heavier lifting. The holding company strips assets and sells them back to itself. In a sale-leaseback, the property goes to a real estate affiliate, and the operating company signs a long lease with scheduled increases. Cash appears at closing, great for paying down acquisition debt and reporting a win. But the location now pays rising rent. Brand fees and management fees flow to the parent. Locally, it looks like tighter budgets and pressure to lift average revenue per case. On the investor slide, it looks like engineered EBITDA. Suppliers feel the consolidation too. A national purchasing program cuts deals with casket and vault manufacturers. In exchange for volume, vendors shave pennies. but the chain can push list prices up in the field, keeping the spread. Private label urns and memorial items arrive with higher margins baked in. The vendor rebates route back to corporate, not the chapel. Independents, who buy from the same catalog's face standard pricing that shifted after a master agreement closed without their input. Now layer in the clock. Most funds plan to exit in 5 to 7 years. That creates a tempo. Year 1 and Year 2, close acquisitions and centralize operations. Year 3 and Year 4, optimize pricing and attachment rates. Year 5 and Year 6, show steady growth and deleverage. Then sell or take it public. If the numbers lag, the lever is price. Studies consistently find that chain-owned homes, especially those owned by private equity, post higher average tickets than standalone competitors. That's not an accident. It's a goal built into dashboards. Get this, the data isn't just descriptive. It's prescriptive. Teams run cohort analysis on families who chose direct cremation versus full services, then test which phrases nudge upgrades. Secure the chapel slot. Honor guard availability. View before cremation. Words become toggles. The golden hour, that first call after a death, becomes the focus of training. Directors learn to close commitments same day. Scarcity, rooms times permits, moves decisions forward. Parallel to sales engineering, the lead funnel expands. Hospice outreach teams introduce community education. Local sponsorships morph into data capture. Raffle cards, grief newsletter signups, obituary template downloads that require an email. Every touch is a future pre-need prospect. At-need arrangements feed pre-need pipelines, and the pre-need teams call back on anniversaries and holidays with price lock offers. Even refusal becomes a signal. Not now goes to a nurture sequence. Across town, staffing thins. One licensed director covers multiple homes. Embalmers float. Overnight transport gets outsourced to gig contractors with per-call rates. Burnout rises. Turnover follows. But the key performance indicators improve. Fewer salaried heads, more attachments per case. The human cost doesn't appear on the metric screen. What appears is margin. What nobody knew at the time, outside the boardroom, was how the real estate strategy ties it together. Sale-leasebacks free cash at the top. Development plans carve cemeteries into premium zones. Lake View, Garden View, Veterans Walk. Capex builds niches and mausoleums that justify step-up pricing. The cemetery becomes a catalog, released one section at a time, with price escalators built into the map. And hanging over all of it is the exit. When the fund sells, the new owner inherits the leases, the pricing scripts, the culture of targets. Families don't see the handoff. The name on the marquee still matches the obituary. But the model has learned their patterns, and it will keep learning. The next act steps into that learning loop. Algorithms listening when the phone rings, and a calendar designed to turn grief into conversion. Behavioral pricing in the grief window. When the phone rings, the clock starts. Insiders call it the golden hour, the span between the first call and the first sit-down. In shock, families want certainty. That's when scripts go to work. The first objective isn't empathy alone. It's a same-day commitment. We can meet you this afternoon. I'll reserve the chapel so your time is protected. Reserve is the operative word. It signals scarcity without stating a price. Here's how the room is set. A director opens a binder or a tablet. There are 3 packages across the page: good, better, best, with names that do emotional lifting. Heritage, serenity, dignity. The highest tier sits far to the right with a polished casket photo, limousine lines, memorial video, live stream, custom guest book. It's a decoy and an anchor. It exists to make the middle tier feel responsible. The basic option carries friction, line items that sound like omissions. No public viewing. No memorial media. Families start from the middle because no one wants to feel like they picked less than care. Watch the language. To secure the chapel, we take a small deposit. The crematory schedule fills fast. We can lock your preferred day today. Scarcity moves timing forward. The calendar becomes a prop. A pencil mark becomes commitment. The deposit is fully applicable, but non-refundable. Not a fee, exactly, just the price of certainty. For families in a fog, the idea that a time could slip away is intolerable. The clock keeps ticking. Bundling does the rest. In one line, embalming appears alongside public viewing, printed programs, floral package A, obituary placement. Remove any one, and the conversation turns. Families usually choose this because it honors the person well. Dignity is a word with margin attached. Each attachment item carries its own script: memorial slideshow, second urn for a sibling, upgraded vault, required by cemetery policy. The vault may be optional by law, but not by the policy you're shown in the moment. The decoy works offline too. A glossy casket catalog stays open to premium pages. A director may mention that many families who chose Serenity also appreciated the keepsake jewelry option. Keepsake sounds like love. It prices like retail. Even tech enters gently. Live stream tiers with HD quality, digital guestbooks, cloud archives. In another context, these would be add-ons. Here they're memorials. The difference is price tolerance born from grief. Microstory. Maria's father died on a Tuesday. By noon, she sat in a quiet room with a wall of urns. The director slid 3 packages across the table. The highest showed an ornate urn and a mahogany rental casket for a viewing before cremation. She hesitated. "We don't need all this." The response: "Totally understood." Most families appreciate Serenity to ensure everyone gets a chance to say goodbye. The word most did the work. She signed. What nobody knew in Maria's room was that the language had been tested. Phrases like secure beat hold, honor beat celebrate. When the director offered a viewing before cremation, conversion spiked among families who initially called asking for direct cremation. The upsell is a moment, a 2-hour window, chairs in the chapel, an extra staffer on site. The margin is in the package framing that turns 2 hours into meaning with a price. Cremation, once the low-cost option, now has tiers. Direct cremation sits at the bottom with bare minimum services. Add a private goodbye, add an upgraded urn, add expedited permits to shave a day off the timeline, add obituary handling with photo scanning, add a live stream for relatives out of state. Each add-on has a quiet justification. We can have the permits back by tomorrow, followed by a pause long enough to feel the weight of another day. Financing enters like relief. We can spread this over 12 months. Approval takes minutes. The monthly number is smaller, friendlier, and completely different from the total. A package that felt heavy at $6,000 becomes manageable at $191 a month, especially with a courtesy discount applied if you enroll today. Promotional periods often hide a backloaded interest clause. If it isn't paid off by month 12, the rate snaps back and retroactive interest applies. In the moment, the family hears only relief. We can do this. The CRM behind that moment tracks acceptance rates by phrase, by director, by time of day. A dashboard shows attachment rates on urn upgrades and live stream tiers. Where acceptance lags, coaching follows. Calls are recorded for quality, but the quality measured is conversion. Voice analytics flag hesitation, suggest the next line. We can take care of everything. The system nudges decisions that feel like comfort but map to margin. Pre-need bleeds into at-need. As arrangements finish, the director asks about the surviving spouse. We can lock today's price for your peace of mind. The risk of inflation shifts to the buyer. Even refusals are logged, tagged for a follow-up on the first anniversary. The grief calendar turns into a sales calendar. Another microstory. Devin's sister died suddenly. He walked in saying, "Just cremation." He left having paid for a memorial the following weekend with a floral package and live stream. He wasn't tricked, he was carried. The anchoring was gentle. The scarcity was implied. The financing made it feel like a plan, not a purchase. 2 months later, a statement arrived showing deferred interest expiring next spring. Inside these rooms, the lever isn't force, it's framing. Scarcity cues shorten time. Anchors lift spend. Bundles blur cost into care. Financing cushions the landing while loading tomorrow. The algorithms refine the edges. And the golden hour keeps paying, one carefully chosen word at a time. The debt layer, financing your final bill. When the pen hovers over the arrangement form, there's one more lever waiting under the table: credit. It doesn't show up as a bank brochure. It appears as relief. We can make this easier. There's a monthly option. The financing isn't outside, it's embedded. White-labeled lenders plug into the funeral software, so approvals return in minutes, often while the director steps out to print something. Origination fees fold into arrangements, disappearing into the package. The monthly number sits on the page like a lifeline. Here's the architecture behind that moment. The provider partners with a finance company that evaluates credit on the fly. The director submits a few fields: name, address, social security number, and the screen returns green. No one leaves to call a bank. No one breaks the emotional spell of getting it taken care of. The paperwork slides forward. The monthly payment looks manageable because it's designed to. 12 months, 18 months, sometimes 24, with a courtesy discount if you enroll today. What nobody is focused on in that minute are the mechanics of deferred interest. Promotional language promises 0% if paid within the window. Miss the final payoff by a week, and the rate snaps back, retroactive to day one. Interest that felt invisible suddenly lands like a second loss. In many contracts, the schedule backloads cost, counting on the fact that after the memorial, life rushes in and attention drifts. Microstory. After Jamal buried his mother, he stuffed the folder in a drawer. 11 months later, overtime dried up. He missed the payoff date. The rate reverted, and a balance he thought was fading grew by hundreds in a statement cycle. "Nobody told me it would jump like that," he said to the rep. The disclosure was there. It just wasn't the headline in the room where he signed. Co-signers add another layer. Adult children, siblings, even cousins step in to help. The credit sits under their name if the estate can't cover it. Intergenerational risk jumps the table. A brother's signature becomes a liability on his mortgage application next year. The grief was shared, now the debt is too. Many families discover this when a late fee posts to an email they don't check because they've muted everything from that week. Cemeteries bring their own teeth. Plot contracts can carry installment plans with explicit forfeiture clauses. Miss payments long enough, and the rights to a grave can revert. It's rare, but the mechanism exists. More often, unpaid interment or marker fees trigger collection calls. Liens aren't just a mortgage story. They can show up here as well, with the cemetery pointing to policy and the family pointing to a week they barely remember. The space that was supposed to hold memory becomes a monthly reminder. Pre-need insurance sounds like protection. Small face value policies promise to lock today's price. The commissions are steep, the exclusions many. When ownership changes hands, portability can fracture. The new parent company honors the contract's value differently, applying inflation riders that eat into what the buyer expected. Families show up with a file and a belief that they prepaid the whole thing. They didn't. They prepaid a piece with an index that didn't keep up. There's a market above all of this. Premium flows from pre-need plans can be pooled and modeled like subprime light. Predictable, small payments across large populations with expected lapse rates and maturities. Investors buy the income streams for yield. That pressure doesn't show up in the arrangement room. It shows up in the quiet push to add attachments and close larger tickets, because bigger packages support bigger finance balances. Behind a monthly payment is an investor expecting their number. Embedded lending reshapes behavior. Directors learn to present the monthly before the total. $189 a month lands softer than $5,800. In training, phrasing is tuned. We can take care of everything today, and you can settle over time. Approvals become part of the choreography. Step out, return with good news, slide the e-sign pad forward. The family exhales. Decision converts. The debt starts. Another microstory. Priya and her aunt split a plan for their grandfather. They co-signed. A year later, the aunt moved, changed emails, and missed a notice. A $30 late fee snowballed into penalty interest. When Priya applied for a car loan, the underwriter flagged a delinquent trade line. She cried in the parking lot, holding the same folder from the chapel. The dealership shrugged. The funeral provider said the account had been sold to servicing. There are honest uses here. A low-cost credit union loan, planned in advance, can spread expense without traps. But the embedded version takes advantage of a foggy week and a fast approval. Add a sale-leaseback atop the building, rising rent in the background, and the pressure to convert debt today intensifies. The lender's app integrates with the CRM. Acceptance feeds a dashboard. Attachment rates rise when financing is offered first, and someone upstairs smiles at the curve. Collections have their script, too. We understand this is a difficult time, sits next to, we can accept payment today. If a marker can't be installed because fees are outstanding, the ground itself becomes leverage. Families comply to avoid the shame of a bare patch. Every call references policy. Every letter quotes a clause. The humanity in the service recedes. The humanity in the ledger never existed. This is the quiet shift. Packages became payments. Payments became portfolios. In the room, the offer feels like mercy. In the spreadsheet, it's yield. Cemeteries as real estate, the quiet land grab. Walk through a cemetery with a developer's eyes, and the map changes. The winding roads become lot lines. The shade trees become premiums. The lake is a pricing lever. Corporate buyers learn to tell a softer story. Memorial parks, community green space, peaceful gardens, while running a harder model. Zoning treats cemeteries as special uses. Once land is dedicated, it's protected from many competing developments. That protection looks like stewardship. It also looks like a moat. Under the lawn sits inventory. Every unsold grave is a unit waiting for release. Chains learn to stage those releases like a housing developer opening phases. Section A today, Section B next year at a higher price, Section C with water view the year after that. Price escalators are built into the map. CapEx flows to features that justify the next tier. In 2024, Service Corporation International disclosed $62 million in real estate spend. Money that often turns open grass into niches, mausoleums, new drives, and premium gardens with plaques and pergolas. The development creates story. The story creates margin. Perpetual care funds sit beneath all of this as a quiet pool. In theory, a portion of every sale goes into a trust to maintain the grounds forever. In practice, definitions vary widely by state. What counts as care? How much must be contributed? Who audits? Who can manage? What fees are skimmed? Affiliates can bill the trust for services, from mowing to accounting, and those fees flow back to the parent. If investment returns lag, maintenance suffers. Families see weeds and sinking stones. The spreadsheet sees a fund within policy. Vertical space is the next lever. When horizontal graves feel finite, build up. Mausoleums turn one footprint into thousands of crypts. Columbaria stack niches for urns in neat grids. Both sell scarcity with a view and offer high margins per square foot. Prestige levels sit at eye height with cushions for benches and fresher flowers. Lower and upper rows price down. The elevator becomes part of the sales tour, new, clean, climate-controlled. Another way to separate price points without leaving the same building. Microstory. After a consolidation, a century-old cemetery added a granite-front columbarium near the main gate. The brochure showed golden hour light across polished stone. A retired couple, Tom and Asha, walked the path one Sunday and stopped at a sign. Introducing the Legacy Court, limited availability. They weren't shopping. They left with a reservation slip and a deposit tag to a niche at family eye level. The word legacy did the work. The inventory had been a wall yesterday. Today it was a product with a ticking clock. Mixed-use encroachment happens at the edges. Many cemeteries own adjacent parcels acquired decades ago for future expansion. Corporate parents look at those parcels like any land bank. What's the highest and best use now? If zoning allows, an affiliate can develop something unrelated, a storage facility, a strip of offices, even housing, then rent or sell it. The cemetery keeps the green image while the affiliate pockets development profit. Locals see a new building by the gates and wonder who approved it. The answer is often in a city file stamped years earlier, unlocked by a new owner's appetite. Regulation frames the game. Once land is dedicated for burial, it's hard to unwind. That's the point. But dedication also provides leverage in planning meetings. We're investing in community space, honoring history, improving drainage, adding trees. True, and also true that each improvement supports a price ladder. Lake dredging refreshes the water and refreshes the brochure. A new veterans section draws headlines and justifies a premium for the neighboring rows. A pergola with a donor plaque becomes a photo in the pitch deck. Green burial arrives as a counterpoint and a wedge. Natural burials, no vaults, no embalming, simple shrouds, cost less to perform and carry a conservation story. Some nonprofits run preserves with conservation easements and transparent stewardship. Corporate chains, seeing demand, sometimes offer eco-sections, but wrap them in policy that still requires a vault or a liner for maintenance, eroding the cost advantage and turning policy into a moat. The environmental language is there, the margin strategy remains. Perpetual care audits rarely headline local news, but they matter. An underfunded trust today shows up as crumbling walls tomorrow. Families complain, the operator points to market returns and restricted funds. State boards, often with industry ties, accept reports and move on. Arbitration clauses in purchase contracts limit class complaints. The grass grows long. A letter eventually arrives requesting voluntary contributions for enhancements. The bill for forever floats back to the living. Here's where sale-leasebacks reappear. When a parent company sells the funeral home real estate to an affiliate and signs a long lease, it commits to rising rent. Cemeteries feel a version of that pressure through internal capital charges and return targets. Development projects must pencil at corporate hurdle rates. That means more legacy courts, more lake views, more differentiated sections. The land that once absorbed families without fuss becomes a catalog of views, materials, and names. Another microstory. After an acquisition, grounds crews got thinner. Mowers still ran, but edging lagged. Families started posting photos of untrimmed markers. The manager scheduled a community cleanup day and served donuts. Volunteers did the work that funds should have covered. A month later, a new garden with etched plaques opened by the entrance at a premium price. Maintenance trailed revenue projects. The optics were neat. The incentives were clear. Walk back to the opening scene. The invoice slid across the table. Part of that number came from a room and a service. Part of it came from the ground, mapped, priced, and staged over years. Cemeteries sell place, but under private equity timelines they also sell pace, releasing land in phases, adding features on a schedule, ratcheting prices with each improvement. The grieving see permanence. The model sees inventory turns. And behind the quiet lawns, the land keeps compounding. The regulatory shield and its holes. While the lawns were being replotted and the scripts refined, the rules that were supposed to protect families stayed thin. The Federal Trade Commission's Funeral Rule sits at the center. It says providers must hand you a price list in person and give prices by phone. That's a start, but the scope is narrow. Cremation fees, cemetery charges, and many third-party goods fall outside its lanes. The result: the most expensive parts can stay opaque until you're already seated at the table. There's another missing piece. There's no federal requirement to post prices online. In a world where you can compare mortgages on your phone, you still can't easily compare funeral packages across town without calling, visiting, or asking in the moment you're grieving. The Federal Trade Commission knows the gap is there. It's running a rulemaking review to consider mandatory online disclosure. But as of now, the rule hasn't changed. Opacity remains a feature, not a bug, and it gives room for anchoring, bundling, and last-minute policy add-ons. States fill in the rest, and the patchwork is where leverage lives. Pre-need funds, money you pay ahead to lock today's price, are supposed to be held in trust. How much must be deposited, who can manage it, and how often it's audited varies widely. Some states require independent custodians and annual reports with teeth. Others accept thin filings and rare inspections. That variance turns trust dollars into opportunity. If oversight is light, fees to affiliates can quietly drain returns. If portability is weak, a change in ownership can trap customers with terms they didn't expect. Perpetual care funds follow the same pattern. They are meant to underwrite mowing, reseeding, stone resetting, the hum of maintenance forever. But what counts as care shifts by statute, and disclosure can be vague. An operator can bill the trust for administration, investment management, even internal services, all technically allowed if the definition is loose. When markets dip, grass grows long and repairs slip. Families complain, boards wave to policy. The whole isn't just financial. It's accountability. Contracts add another shield, just not for you. Arbitration clauses and class action waivers sit in purchase agreements and pre-need paperwork. They look like boilerplate. They are concrete. If your family finds out 300 neighbors had the same vault requirement pitched as law, a class case could force change. With the waiver, each person is alone, in private arbitration, with limited discovery and no headline. The clause doesn't just cap payout, it caps sunlight. Look at who writes and enforces rules locally. Licensing boards often include industry members. That can mean expertise. It can also mean a revolving door where trade groups draft model bills and regulators later join the firms they once oversaw. When a complaint lands about price opacity or high-pressure sales, outcomes depend on culture as much as statute. Within policy, market practice, consumer misunderstanding. Meanwhile, consolidation advances, using the room the rules allow. Attempts at reform exist, and they work where tried. A few states and cities piloted mandatory web price posting for funeral homes. Consumers could click and compare direct cremation, immediate burial, and service packages without driving across town. Compliance proved feasible, and price spreads narrowed where shoppers had power. Chains pushed back, arguing that service complexity resists simple menus and competitors would cherry-pick loss leaders. But transparency isn't about perfect comparability. It's about restoring choice in a week with none. Cemeteries are even murkier. Many are outside the Federal Trade Commission's funeral rule completely. Prices for plots, interment markers, and opening and closing fees can be presented at the end, after a family has picked a section by the lake and invited relatives to travel. If a liner-required policy appears then, the path of least resistance is to sign. Without standardized disclosure and independent audits of perpetual care, the ground stays a black box priced by story and season. Microstory. Lila asked 3 homes for direct cremation prices. 2 sent PDFs after she insisted. The third said they'd discuss options when you come in. The lowest online quote was straightforward. The in-person pitch added documentation fees, crematory coordination, and a priority permit that sounded official and wasn't. Lila didn't file a complaint. She buried her dad and went back to work. The rules count on that silence. Now tie this back to the modern playbook. Scripts work better in the dark. Sale-leasebacks that raise fixed costs depend on reliable price lifts. Perpetual care funds that can be tapped through affiliate fees rely on definitions that give room. Arbitration clauses keep disputes out of sight. Weak online disclosure keeps families in chairs instead of on comparison sites. Each gap isn't random, it's a tool. There's movement, but speed matters. The Federal Trade Commission's review could mandate online price posting, close carve-outs, and standardized disclosures for common fees. States could require independent custodians for pre-need and perpetual care, with public audits and plain language statements mailed yearly. Lawmakers could ban forced arbitration in death care contracts so patterns see daylight. Cities could publish cemetery fee schedules and audit maintenance against trust contributions. None of this dictates empathy. It sets rules for the market. Until those levers move, families need armor. Know that you're entitled to written prices before you decide. Ask for itemization. Take photos of posted policies. Bring a second set of eyes. If someone says required, ask by whom and for the statute. If a deposit is non-refundable, ask for the policy in writing. The system won't close its holes on its own. It closes when people refuse to fall through them. Human cost. Microstories from Main Street. Start with Ruth. She's 72, a widow in a town where the director once brought casseroles. Her husband wanted simple, graveside, a prayer family. In the arrangement room, the director slid a policy sheet across the table. Vaults are required for ground stability. Ruth nodded. The graveside line carried a footnote. Without the protective vault, the cemetery couldn't guarantee safety. She paid $900 she didn't have for something the law didn't mandate. At the burial, a staffer hinted a canopy wasn't included. She stared at the sky and paid the Windy Day fee. Miguel's family wanted cremation. His mother died fast, and he walked in with a plan. No embalming, no fuss. The director explained public health. For a proper goodbye, embalming preserves dignity. The word dignity did the work. A private viewing for the grandchildren became a package with cosmetics, styling, and photo prep. The total jumped by thousands. Afterward, Miguel learned from a county brochure that direct cremation didn't require embalming at all. He held the brochure like a bad joke. The policy he'd been shown wasn't law, it was leverage. Carla's brother handled the money. In that room, they declined financing. It felt cleaner to pay from savings. 2 hours later, a follow-up call offered a courtesy discount if we arrange monthly today. The number sounded gentle, $187 a month, and a promotional note promised no interest if paid in 12 months. Month 13 arrived with retroactive interest. Carla called the lender. The disclosure is in your documents. She scrolled through grief. The balance had grown by almost the same amount she'd saved with the discount. Derek bought a pre-need plan for his dad 8 years earlier. The pitch was simple. Lock today's price, spare the kids. When he presented the folder, fees had new names. An inflation rider had tracked costs, but an exclusion listed certain crematory coordination services as outside coverage. The today's price he thought was fixed wasn't. The plan value applied, but the gap stung. He didn't sue. He signed and left, blaming himself for not reading the small type on a day when reading anything would have felt cruel. Elaine visits her mother's grave on Sundays. After a chain bought the cemetery, crews changed. The edging slipped. The grass grew in patchwork. One week, a family found toppled vases and a dead patch above a neighbor. Complaints met a smile, and a work orders are in process. Then a fundraiser arrived. Community enhancement contributions welcome. Alongside a glossy pamphlet for a new heritage garden, near the entrance with etched plaques at premium prices. Elaine took photos and sent emails. The trust, she was told, was within policy. Jay's story is quieter. He's an adult son who co-signed for his aunt's niche after the director said co-signers help speed things up. He forgot to add e-statements to his inbox. A missed autodraft triggered a late fee and interest escalation. Months later, a mortgage pre-approval flagged the delinquency. Jay called the funeral home. The account had been sold to servicing. He called servicing. The only relief was a settlement larger than the original missed payment. He paid it and stopped sleeping well. Talia's family wanted to stream the memorial for cousins overseas. The base webcast worked, but the playback stuttered. When she asked for a refund, the contract pointed to best efforts, and a clause stating the provider wasn't liable for third-party network issues. The livestream fee held. The director apologized and offered 25% off keepsake jewelry. Talia declined. A month later, a pre-need salesperson called to lock prices for the future and referenced the cousins by name. The CRM had done its work. Then there's Sam. He wouldn't have called a lawyer, but a neighbor sent him articles about arbitration clauses. When the cemetery delayed installing his wife's marker due to unpaid documentation fees, he balked. The contract sent him to private arbitration, 1 hour in a conference room across town. He won a token credit after months of calls. The marker finally arrived. The grass around it still looked tired. These aren't edge cases. They're the middle of the bell curve when incentives run ahead of care. None of these families wanted a fight. They wanted time, ritual, a clean lawn, a bill that made sense. What they got was a market that knows grief is inelastic, policy that allows opacity, and clauses that keep frustration private. The math shows up inside the deal room. The pain shows up one Tuesday at a time. Step into the conference room where the real funeral happens, on paper. The first move on closing day isn't about flowers or chapels. It's the building. In a sale-leaseback, the real estate is sold to a landlord affiliate and leased back to the operating company for 20 years with rent escalators. Cash floods the parent's balance sheet, pays down acquisition debt, and flatters returns. But the local home just swapped a paid-off property for a rising monthly bill. Next come the invisible drains. A management services agreement sends % of revenue fees to the holding company. A brand fee for shared marketing takes another slice. Locally, those lines look like overhead. Upstairs, they turn community cash flow into parent company EBITDA. The math is neat. Every dollar extracted lifts margin at the consolidated level, even if the chapel's own margin tightens. When quarterly targets loom, these pipes widen, not shrink. Labor is where the cost curve bends. Fewer licensed directors cover more cases. Embalmers float across a region. Assistants pick up tasks that used to need a license under supervision. Overtime disappears into salaried expectations. The spreadsheet calls it leverage. Staff call it burnout. When a seasoned director leaves, the line item falls short-term, and the dashboard cheers. But continuity, the thing families believed they were buying when they saw the name on the sign, erodes. Procurement looks like savings and feels like a trap. Corporate negotiates master agreements with casket and vault makers. Volume wins rebates routed to headquarters. Field list prices adjust upward to meet standard margins. Private label earns arrive at better spreads. Independents buying through the same catalogs face catalog prices nudged by deals they never saw. The chain's local team can say, "Our costs went up." Technically true. In reality, the rebate that offset them never touched that location's books. Dashboards govern culture. Case count, average revenue per case, attachment rates, closing times. Every metric updates daily. Directors see red and green tiles next to their names. A weekly call reviews who's leaving value on the table. Scripts are tuned. Phrasing is standardized. If one branch lifts live stream uptake after mentioning extended family overseas, that line propagates by Monday. It's not just sales coaching, it's a conversion laboratory. The cemetery side gets its own engineering. Capital expenditure is allocated to projects with modeled returns. A columbarium wall here, a remodel of the front office there, a water feature with an adjacent premium section. Internal hurdle rates demand specific price lifts. Development carries an internal capital charge, just like rent. That means releasing plots in staged phases with built-in increases because the spreadsheet insists on it. A manager who falls behind the pro forma learns to accelerate limited availability, language to catch up. There's a tax angle behind the drapes. Interest on acquisition debt lowers taxable income. Rent from the sale-leaseback is deductible, while rental income flows to a separate entity with its own structure. Transfer pricing for shared services reallocates profit across subsidiaries. None of this is illegal. It's optimization. But optimization has a direction, away from the chapel's surplus and toward the holding structure's returns. Microstory, a regional operator rolled into a fund's portfolio. Month 1, the parent refinanced debt and executed sale-leasebacks on 4 properties. Month 2, a brand fee appeared at 2% of revenue. Month 3, staffing shifted. One director now covered 3 homes. Month 4, vendor rebates started hitting a corporate cost center. By month 6, average revenue per case climbed on the dashboard. Locals said families seemed needier. The model said the attachments were finally in line. Meanwhile, quality becomes a line item to defend, not a standard to exceed. A torn carpet waits for CAPEX approval. A hearse with a bad alternator limps through a weekend because fleet budgets reset next quarter. Groundskeeping shifts to the lowest bidder who can still check a box. When complaints surface, managers point to policy and promise future improvements. If a crew does a cleanup day with volunteers and donuts, morale photos circulate internally. The KPI that really moved that week was expense. Here's the last lever: time. Funds need routes to exit in 5 to 7 years. So they bundle acquisitions into a larger platform, show rising EBITDA supported by lease-adjusted margins, document standardized operations, and pitch to the next buyer. If the story glows, the multiple expands. The buyer isn't just purchasing funeral homes. They're buying an engineered flow of cash, guarded by leases, fees, and scripts. Families never see these terms. Communities feel them as a drift, more charge, less slack. The algorithmic future of death. Care. By the time a hospice nurse whispers, "You should call someone," a model may already know who you'll call. Chains build lead lists from hospice outreach, obituary monitoring, and website forms that look like grief resources but double as data capture. A family's zip code, browser device, and the page they landed on feed a score. Likelihood to choose cremation, probability of same-day commitment, expected budget tolerance. The phone rings, and the CRM flashes guidance on the screen before. "I'm so sorry for your loss." AI doesn't just predict volume, it sequences persuasion. Obituary pipelines scrape public notices, cross-reference names with consumer files, and flag next of kin who appear local. A rep checking in is also testing receptivity. If the call connects, the script adapts. Households tagged with larger homes hear more about chapel capacity and memorial media. Apartments get language about simple and dignified. The difference sounds like empathy. It's targeting. Dynamic pricing creeps in from the edges. The list price doesn't jump hourly like an airline, but the package matrix flexes by zip code, seasonality, and inferred wealth. Winter spikes in mortality push priority permit fees up a tier. Neighborhoods with higher median incomes see different default bundles. A compassion adjustment line item appears or disappears based on a model's read of conversion risk. No single change screams surge pricing. The spread shows up across 1,000 small choices. Voice analytics coach the human at the table. Calls and arrangement meetings get recorded for quality. The tool flags moments of hesitation, rates tone, and suggests phrasing. Say secure the chapel instead of hold the room. Pause here, reaffirm, we can take care of everything. Directors get scorecards, empathy, clarity, conversion, framed as training. The metric that matters is the green tile next to same-day commitments. The machine learns which words move grief towards signature, then propagates them chain-wide by Monday. Personalization extends into memorial media. If an intake form shows frequent social posts and a YouTube link, the upsell path highlights livestream tiers, tribute reels, and digital guest books with forever access. Families without that footprint see printed programs and photo boards prioritized. The margin sits in the layers: basic stream, high definition, multiple camera angles, cloud archive. In any other market, These are optional features. Here, they're framed as ways to include everyone who loved them, and the algorithm nudges the tier that fits your profile. Meanwhile, direct-to-consumer cremation apps blur the front door. A search for simple cremation near me returns slick sites promising a few taps, transparent prices, and door-to-door care. Behind some of those brands sit the same chains, routing low-touch cases through centralized facilities, dispatching gig-based transport, and skimming margin on scale. The app's chat feels local. The back end is a hub and spoke, optimized for throughput and attachment items, shipped in boxes stamped thoughtful. Unknown to most families, even the calendar is scored. Models track local death certificates by day, hospice discharges by facility, whether that affects travel plans and holiday clusters that raise pressure to schedule fast. On weekends with tight chapel availability, non-refundable deposits surface earlier in the script. In weeks with slack, a community care discount appears to steady volume. It reads like kindness. It graphs like yield smoothing. Parallel action in the cemetery mirrors all this. Aerial imagery feeds inventory maps. Heat maps show which rows move faster after a veteran's ceremony or a holiday newsletter. Price tiers adjust subtly. 2% here for garden view. 5% there for water reflection. A limited time founder's circle around a new pergola. A family's history with the firm unlocks pre-approved niche holds. Emails land on birthdays and anniversaries with peace of mind, offers and one-click deposits tied to a unique link. Microstory. After her uncle's obituary posted, Nora got a text from a care team with a personalized link. The landing page already displayed his name, a gentle photo template, and 3 packages. The middle tier highlighted extended family livestream and a curated playlist option. Nora assumed a friend had set it up. She clicked Talk Now. The rep answered with her uncle's name and 2 chapel times next day. She chose one. Later she learned the obituary had been scraped the hour it went up. The promise sold to investors is consistency. Predictable conversion, higher attachment rates, steady ARPC. The risk sold to communities is subtler, a sacred week tuned by A/B tests. Tech isn't evil on its own. It can remind, organize, lighten logistics. But in a market defined by inelastic need and asymmetric information, algorithms tilt the table. The next ring won't feel different. The nudge will. Counterforces, co-ops, nonprofits, and green alternatives. While algorithms tune the grief window, a quieter resistance is learning a different rhythm. Transparency first, community control, and rituals that refuse to be priced by scarcity. Start with a co-op on a windswept main street. Members pay a small annual fee, $20, maybe $50, and in return get published, itemized pricing, and a vote. The co-op negotiates with local independents for fixed rates on direct cremation and immediate burial. There's no good, better, best. There's a menu with plain language. When costs rise, members hear it at a meeting, not at a table with a deposit slip. The dividend isn't cash, it's predictability in a week when nothing else feels steady. Microstory. After losing her partner, Nina called the co-op she joined 2 years earlier on a neighbor's advice. The director read a price from the same page Nina had at home. He offered 3 times for a simple farewell and told her, "If you want a memorial later at your church hall, we'll print programs at cost." Nina exhaled. The total matched the website. No anchor, no decoy. The dignity came from control. Nonprofit funeral homes build similar guardrails. Governed by community boards, they publish comprehensive price lists online. Direct cremation, immediate burial, add-on room rentals, without bundling pressure. Surpluses fund sliding scales instead of management fees. When you ask, is embalming required? They point to the statute and to options that fit your values. A bereavement group meets in the same room where someone else might have been upsold a live stream. The care doesn't turn into an upsell path. It stays care. Municipal and nonprofit cemeteries offer the counterweight underfoot. Their fee schedules sit on city sites, plot, opening and closing, marker setting, winter surcharge, updated by ordinance. The perpetual care fund is audited, minutes are public, and maintenance contracts go out to bid with scope attached. If edging slips, a council meeting hears about it, and the trust's balance isn't a black box. Families can ask where the mower money went, and someone has to answer in daylight. Home funerals and death doulas bring the center of gravity back into living rooms. In most states, families can act as their own funeral directors with guidance. A doula helps with paperwork, cooling, washing, vigil, and coordinating a memorial at home or a community space. Costs drop to essentials: transport, permits, a simple container. The ritual expands to time and touch. A teenager draws a sign, an uncle reads a poem, a neighbor cooks. No SKU exists for that. Green burial preserves widen the map further. A conservation nonprofit stewards a woodland where graves are simple, markers natural, and upkeep is ecology, not edging. Fees fund land protection in perpetuity through easements and independent trustees, not affiliate invoices. Families walk to the spot, choose a tree nearby, and return in spring to see wildflowers instead of granite. The price is posted on a website. The promise is dirt and roots and an unmarred sky. Transparent cremation providers, some independents, some mission-driven startups, strip the script to essentials and publish flat fees online, with taxes and third-party costs spelled out. Itemization is default: removal, permits, cremation, simple urn, optional local delivery. If you want a memorial, they recommend venues you can book yourself. No priority permit. No chapel lock. When you call, the voice tells you the number before the condolence, not because they lack care, but because they honor your planning. Microstory. Ahmed compared 3 sites from his kitchen table on a Tuesday night. Each showed direct cremation at a flat fee, 10 miles included, permit cost listed. He chose the mid-priced one because the page answered every question he had without an email capture. The next day, the same voice answered the phone and said, "We'll send you a text with the exact total and a checklist." The text arrived. It matched the page. These counterforces aren't perfect. Co-ops need members and organizers. Nonprofits need steady leadership and clean books. Municipal cemeteries need councils that care. Duelists need legal clarity and hospital cooperation. Green preserves need land and patient capital. Transparent providers need enough volume to keep prices honest. But each opens blinds that consolidation prefers shut. Here's the thread: governance in daylight. When boards answer to neighbors, when fees are published, when funds are audited by someone who isn't paid by the parent company, the room for engineered extraction shrinks. The grief week doesn't become easy. It becomes navigable. The choice isn't binary, chain versus nothing. It's between a model that optimizes yield from sorrow and one that treats sorrow as a public trust. The more these options spread, the more they force the rest of the market to show its map. Policy levers and practical protections. If consolidation sharpened its tools in the dark, the answer starts with light. Mandate all-in online price disclosure. Real menus, not contact forms. A standardized sheet should list direct cremation, immediate burial, and full-service packages with every common fee. Removal, permits, crematory charges, documentation. Opening and closing, chapel use, live stream tiers, vaults, liners, and cemetery add-ons. Require taxes and third-party costs to be shown up front. If a provider offers financing, the page must display the APR range, promotional period, and a plain sentence on retroactive interest if the balance isn't paid by the deadline. Close the funeral rule gaps. Extend federal disclosure to cremation, cemeteries, and third-party goods sold through the provider. The same price list rules should apply to interment, markers, opening and closing, and priority permits. Ban the practice of revealing cemetery fees only after a family has chosen a section. Require a combined out-the-door estimate that includes cemetery charges whenever the provider sells both sides under one roof. Make the general price list downloadable from every site, no email wall. Strengthen pre-need trust rules. Require a high, uniform deposit percentage into trust across states, with independent custodians and annual audits posted publicly. Mandate portability. If ownership changes, plans must be honored at dollar value plus a defined inflation index, not a looser equivalent goods clause. Standardized disclosure with a one-page summary, contributions, fees, investment policy, exclusions, and an example of how a $1,000 plan grows over 10 years under typical scenarios. Mail that summary yearly to plan holders, not just when they ask. Tighten perpetual care. Define care narrowly: mowing, trimming, reseeding, road upkeep, stone resetting, and bar affiliate billing that isn't arm's length and competitively bid. Set minimum contribution rates per sale and a floor for trust balances per developed acre. Publish trust balances, contributions, investment returns, and spending by category on an annual public report. Create state-level surprise inspections, not just file reviews, with fines that escalate and authority to force corrective maintenance funded by the trust. Ban forced arbitration and class action waivers in death care contracts. Families should be able to aggregate similar harms, misrepresented vault requirements, undisclosed fees, live stream failures, so patterns can be proven in court. Require bold, plain English disclosures for any optional policy framed as required, with a citation to statute or ordinance on the same page. If a cemetery claims a liner is required, the exact rule must be printed and handed over before money changes hands. Cap APRs and crush junk fees in funeral financing. Treat embedded credit like medical credit. Cap interest, prohibit retroactive interest traps, and ban courtesy discounts tied to same-day enrollment. Mandate a cooling-off period for financing. No application until 24 hours after the first quote unless the family signs a waiver acknowledging the right to wait. Require lenders to send a separate text or email with the total interest cost if paid on schedule and the cost if 1 month late, using the actual numbers from that family's offer. Give cities tools. Municipal cemeteries should publish fee schedules online and by the office door. Councils should audit perpetual care annually and hold hearings where operators present maintenance plans. Planning boards can condition approvals for cemetery expansions or mausoleums on transparency. Permanent on-site boards with prices, web publication of fees, and third-party audits. Require operators to notify the city and customers of ownership changes and to host a public meeting within 60 days to explain terms that will not change. License transparency itself. Make it a violation to refuse to email or hand a full itemized price list upon request. Create a state hotline and a simple online form where families can upload screenshots and contracts showing missing prices or required options without legal basis. Fund enforcement with fines that outweigh the benefit of opacity, not token penalties treated as marketing costs. Protect the golden hour. Require a script edition. You are entitled to a written, itemized price list before deciding. Post it on the wall, print it on the first page, and put it on the home page. Bar non-refundable deposits for holding rooms or crematory slots unless a family signs a one-page statement explaining what is being reserved, for how long, what triggers forfeiture, and the free alternative. If a deposit is kept, require an automatic review by a state ombuds office with authority to order refunds. Standardize vocabulary. Opening and closing must be defined the same statewide, so must documentation, permit, and priority. Ban rebranding junk fees with softer names after scrutiny begins. When a provider sells both funeral and cemetery services, require a single, combined invoice that flags any optional items and displays the legal basis for any mandatory ones. Finally, fund consumer education where it matters. Hospice discharges, hospital social work, senior centers, and probate courts. Hand out a 2-page checklist. Rights under the rule, how to ask for prices, questions to pose about vaults and liners, how pre-need works, what financing really costs, and where to complain. The grief week won't get longer, but it can get clearer, and clarity is leverage you can use. Actionable playbook for families. Start before you need it. Pre-plan without prepaying. Write a 1-page death file that names your decision-maker, your preferences, direct cremation or immediate burial, religious customs, obituary wishes, and a simple budget range. Add contacts, primary backup, clergy, favorite venue for a memorial. Put it on paper and share it with 2 people. Store it with ID copies, life insurance info, and a short list of 3 nearby providers you've already priced. Shop while calm. Call or email 3 homes and ask for their full itemized price lists. General price list, casket price list, outer burial container price list, and any crematory fees if separate. If they refuse, move on. Screenshot websites, PDFs, and emails. Build a simple comparison. Direct cremation total out the door, immediate burial total, rental casket plus cremation, chapel rental by hour, live stream fee, obituary handling, documentation or permit costs with amounts. Circle any word that isn't plain English and ask for the statute that requires it. Decide the disposition first. The single biggest swing is choosing direct cremation or immediate burial, then separating memorial from disposition. Direct cremation. Pay for removal, permits, cremation, a simple container, taxes. Host the memorial later at your church hall, a community center, or your backyard. Immediate burial. No embalming, simple casket, graveside with clergy or a friend leading words. Every other element is optional ritual, not required procedure. Walk into the arrangement room with lines you'll use. We want the itemized list before we decide. Please remove anything not legally required. Direct cremation only. Immediate burial only. No embalming. No vault unless required by law. Can you show me the statute? If they say required, ask by whom, and wait for the citation in writing. If the answer is cemetery policy, decide if you'll choose a different cemetery or accept the cost with eyes open. Kill the anchor. When the three packages appear, heritage, serenity, dignity, say, we're not choosing a package. We're selecting line items. Ask to start a blank estimate. Add only what you want. Disposition, 1 hour in a room if you need it. Obituary if you truly want them to place it. Live stream if family can't travel and you can't DIY. Decline printed programs, upsold guest books, keepsake jewelry, premium urns, cosmetic prep, photo scanning. Bring your own framed photo, a playlist, and a simple flower arrangement from a grocery florist. Time is leverage. If they ask for a deposit to secure the chapel, respond, we'll choose a time after we have a complete written estimate. Please hold without a non-refundable deposit or list the refund terms. If a deposit is required, cap it at a small amount and get the exact hold window and refund triggers in writing. Refuse any non-refundable deposit tied to crematory schedule, unless you're signing the final itemized agreement. If you need financing, separate it from the room. Decline in-house offers and avoid courtesy discounts contingent on same-day enrollment. Instead, use cash, a low-rate credit card with a payoff plan, or a credit union loan you control. If you accept embedded financing, ask for the APR, the total dollar interest if paid on schedule, the total if 1 month late, the promotional end date, and whether interest is retroactive. Take a photo of the disclosure. Set 3 calendar alerts: 1 month before, 1 week before, and 2 days before the promo deadline. At Cemeteries, ask ownership first. Who owns and operates the cemetery? Is it the same company as the funeral home? Request the full fee schedule. Plot price by section, opening and closing, weekend or winter surcharges, marker setting, installation requirements, vault or liner policy, and any documentation or permit fees. Ask for perpetual care details, current trust balance, last year's deposit total, last year's spending categories. If answers are vague, choose a municipal or nonprofit cemetery with published fees and audits. Leverage community options. Join a funeral co-op if one exists. It buys clarity and member rates ahead of time. Identify a nonprofit funeral home or a transparent cremation provider with flat online pricing. Ask your faith community if they maintain a burial society or have set rates with a local provider. For green burial, contact Preserves Now. Some require pre-registration. Design your own memorial. Hold the service at home, a park shelter, a community hall, or a sanctuary you already love. Borrow a projector. Assign roles. One person greets, one handles music, one prints simple programs at home. Livestream with a phone on a tripod using free platforms. Test the Wi-Fi and save a local recording. Ask friends to bring food in lieu of flowers. Ritual isn't weaker when it's yours. At Need Day checklist. Bring your comparison sheet, your lines, your budget ceiling, and a second set of eyes. Start an audio note on your phone with everyone's consent, or take photos of each page as you sign. Get an itemized statement before paying anything. If a phrase moves fast, slow it. We'll step outside for 10 minutes. Call one of your pre-vetted providers if the quote bloats. Afterward, close loops. Request itemized final invoices and receipts. If something diverged from the quote, ask for a correction in writing. If you were told a vault or liner was required, and later learn it wasn't by law, file a complaint with your state board and your attorney general, and send a short letter to the provider asking for a refund or credit. Upload documents, don't just vent. Finally, share the playbook. Put your death file template in your family cloud. Tell 2 friends where it is. The week will still hurt, but you'll walk in with a map, and a map beats a script. The broader map, financialization's last frontiers. Step back from the chapel and the lawn and you see a larger pattern. Wall Street learned that the safest profits sit where choice is weakest: housing, healthcare, and now death. These are inelastic needs with emotional clocks. You don't haggle much over an apartment when you're facing eviction. You don't comparison shop an MRI when you're in pain. You don't negotiate a memorial while calling relatives. That's the map: time pressure, opaque pricing, and a customer who can't walk away. Funeral chains didn't invent this. They followed paths carved by hospitals that fused into regional systems, then added facility fees and out-of-network traps. They echoed landlords who bought starter homes in bulk, turned them into single-family rentals, and raised rents faster than wages. They took notes from dialysis chains that rolled up clinics, optimized chair time, and maximized reimbursements on a schedule your kidneys don't control. The tactic is steady. Call it stewardship, run it like a spreadsheet, bank the spread. Meanwhile, investors pitch the upside as stability. These are recession-resistant sectors with predictable volumes and opportunities to professionalize. Translation: your life doesn't get less fragile in a downturn, and thin rules leave room to extract. In deck after deck, the words repeat: fragmented roll-up, purchasing scale, customer lifetime value, paired with images that soften the edges. A smiling nurse, a tidy bungalow, a peaceful garden. The soft images mask hard levers, leases, fees, and debt that tighten even when families can't. The next frontiers are already underway. Veterinary care has the same traits as funeral homes: love, urgency, confusion. Clinics were family businesses. Now private equity groups are bundling them into platforms, standardizing treatment plans, and steering toward higher-margin diagnostics. A Saturday fever becomes a Monday finance plan for a CT scan a pet owner can't emotionally refuse. Special education services, therapies paid by school districts and insurers, are rolling up too. Parents who do anything for a child meet billing codes, and provider networks stitched to growth targets. Elder care is a wide river in this map. Assisted living and memory care facilities sell safety and dignity while loading contracts with rent escalators and levels of care that ratchet monthly fees. Residents don't vote with their feet easily. A move is trauma. That inertia prices like an annuity with a human face. Behind the brochure's fireplace, an operating partner tunes staffing ratios to meet returns, and families pay the difference in attention. Pharmacies and benefits managers sit nearby. Middle layers grew fat in the spread between what a drug costs and what it's reimbursed. Mail order fulfills with a smiley box. A rebate quietly flows upstream. It's the same structure as vendor rebates on caskets. The field price rises, the corporate discount accrues elsewhere, and customers hear cost pressures while a parent entity counts the check. The social cost isn't just the bill. It's the drift from trust to transaction. A director once knew your family story. A landlord once fixed a sink as if they'd live there next year. A clinic once told you the lowest price without asking for your insurance first. When targets arrive from a city you've never visited, care bends toward metrics you'll never see. That doesn't make people inside the system villains. It makes them employees of a machine that rewards extraction over slack. So the question isn't whether business belongs in life's hard moments. It's which parts we refuse to meter. A community can decide that burial grounds are a public trust, that hospital billing must read like a menu, that rent increases cap near wage growth, that pet care and children's services publish outcomes and prices. Transparency alone won't fix power, but it changes posture. When you can see the lever, you can push back, and when enough people push, models change. Return to the invoice on the table. It's a line item in a bigger ledger. The same forces that turned homes into portfolios and clinics into platforms turned grief into cash flow. Call it what it is, a bet that we won't notice. Resolution and meaning. How we treat loss shows who we are. When grief turns into yield, something sacred slips. Subscribe if you want more armor against financialization, and tap the next episode on the hospital billing machine to finish this map. Share this with someone who'll need it before they think they do, and add your story so others don't learn alone.